YouTube? I'm Jay, this is Crooked Eye Comics. This video is going to be the good, the bad, and the Snyder. We have Marvel, DC, Indies, all covered in here. It's going to be my version of spec. Some of these are current, some of these are past. It's just all books that you should not necessarily just go out and buy because, you know, they're going to go up in value, but stuff that you want to read as well. Coming in with my first video, Scott Snyder, Noctera. Now, Noctera's set in a futuristic, almost Blade Runner-esque type of deal. Absolutely beautiful, great story, everything that you would ask for in a comic. Next up, I have Something Is Killing the Children. That's from Boom Studios. Something Is Killing the Children, I picked up very late. I got to probably issue 15, something like that. But it's absolutely phenomenal. One of the best comics series that I've actually picked up to date. Which brings me to my next one. We got We Live. We Live is probably my most sought after in terms of... They have a second one coming up in June, I believe. And I'll wait in a line if I have to in order to get that. So I can't wait for that next series to come out from that. It's only a 5-issue first series. But the landscape that they're in, the story, everything, it's like, it's moving, it's tone, it's everything you could ask for in a comic. And that goes with Something Is Killing the Children, too. It's like, those two is like probably most on tone. Reminds me of when I was a kid, like playing Silent Hill, you go into a door or something, whatever the case is, and then all of a sudden, you're freaked out. Well, a lot of comics can't get me to get to that point in terms of tone, but those two can. With my next one, I got The Eternals. Preferably issue number 5 and 11 of the first volume. I feel like those two are going to go up in value. The Eternals are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. Definitely not. So, there's mixed reviews about the movie. I absolutely love the movie. I just saw it a few days ago, and I thought it was great. But they're here for the long haul. They went down in value because the movie got negative publicity. But don't be surprised if they have, once the second movie comes out and it does well, that doesn't go back up. Or in the meantime, if they're in a different movie, if they appear in a different movie, it's going to go up. Coming in next, I have Conan. Go grab issue number 1. You could probably get a mid-grade for $50. Go get issue 1. Go get any of the keys now. I feel like Conan is coming. I haven't really heard any spec on it, but I feel like he's coming. He's one of the only ones that ever gave Kang the Conqueror a hard time. Basically, Kang can do and say whatever he wants, and that's it. But Conan put up, a hell of a fight against him. So I think he's coming, even though we haven't heard anything. That's just my opinion. Coming in next, I have Rust. Rust was a mini-series that was done. I believe it's 9 issues. The cover's iconic. It's about, I believe, a police officer who ends up getting turned to stone. Weird story. Cool story. Good cover. I think it's definitely a good read. And not only that, but I feel like it could go up in value as well. My last indie, I have Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid is about a rabbit in the Old West who is avenging a death. Great story. He gets a sensei. And it reminds you kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles type vibes, for sure. I actually found out about this through one of my platforms. I frequent at Mainstream Comics, and somebody talked about it. I bought an issue for, I believe, like $2. the first issue, and I read it, and I'm like, it's an ongoing series right now. I believe they're at issue number 4. And I read it, I'm like, So I haven't picked up issue 2 yet, but it's on my list of books to nab. And then next I have Commandy. Now, this is The Last Boy on Earth. It's a very interesting story. I feel like it's something that we need to keep our eye on. It hasn't been talked about. Once we start getting into different stuff, like if we get into Conan and we get into these different avenues in Marvel, I think he's a character that could definitely pop up. Or he might just bust through a portal one day. We never know. But whatever the case is, it's definitely a series to keep an eye out on. Which gets me to, I believe this is I only have 2 DC books on here. And one of them is Ragman. It's definitely an interesting story and just something to check out. I believe that it's going to start ticking up in value. Similar character to like Sleepwalker. Little oddball character, but once DC gets their shit together, all these middle B, C-list characters are going to start going up in value. So I would just get it now just to hold for maybe a year and a half down the line. But that's a little extreme to think about. But it's a good read in the meantime. But it would be something to hold for later on. I started off with a Snyder. I end with a Snyder. It's called The Good, the Bad, and the Snyder because Scott Snyder has a good and a bad on my list. The bad is the whole Dark Metal series. Started off hot, turned into not. This series ended worse than an M. Night Shyamalan movie. And that's tough to say. Because it did a worse flip. So, it's just one of the, I don't know what his deal is. So, Nocterra is an indie. The Dark Metal series is DC. I feel like every time he writes for DC, he gets this like douchebag writing. It's like where he's like, you could tell he's trying to like set a tone to where like he's the top dog in DC and like it's his universe and this, that, and the third. And then it never goes in that direction. So his writing style doesn't fit his actual, like, everything for everybody else. Everywhere else, he's fine, but I think he's trying to do too much when he writes for DC because they have nobody else, which gets me into my last topic for the video. We have within the last week, we have 2 big key news drops in terms of comic books. You have John Romita Jr. is going to be coming back on the Spider-Man run. So that's amazing. But I think equally as big, maybe rushed, thrown under a rug somewhere, is Jeff Johns is back in DC. To this point, Jeff Johns in the last 10 years is the only good person writing for DC. So maybe getting him back is going to push, I think it's nothing but good. It's not going to hurt anything. So it's just going to be interesting what they do with him and where they plug him in. But he's back with Batman, and we'll see what happens. If you haven't liked and subscribed to any of the videos, please go and do that for me. In the meantime, we're going to keep pumping out content, and let's keep this ball rolling.